Light Yagami would be Scooby Doo's bitch. There, I said it. Scoobert and Ultra Instinct Shaggy would be an absolute nightmare for Kira to combat against. I've made quite a few videos in the past pitting numerous fictional criminals and detectives against one another. L versus Hannibal Lecter, Dexter versus Anton Chigurh, Will Graham versus Light, Dexter versus Light, etc, etc. But what I ultimately came to realize is that the Death Note is kind of OP, guys. Like, it really is difficult to craft a scenario where a fictional detective from outside of the Death Note universe can come in and solve the Kira case. So this naturally got me thinking, who would be able to break the Kira case and bring Mr. Yagami to justice? And after running through quite a few different scenarios in my head, it finally hit me. Scooby Doo and his crew of ragtag detectives unironically could solve the Kira case. Now, I know what you're thinking. Screen Stories has lost his goddamn mind. Ain't no way these goofy goobers can do what L, a literal super genius, was unable to do. Surely you can't be serious. But I assure you, I am serious, and don't call me Shirley. Off for rip, there's 4 big issues for Light if Mystery Incorporated were to start investigating the Kira case. Issue number 1. The Death Note does not work on non-humans, so Scooby-Doo is immune to his mystic notebook. Also, even if it did, he'd have to figure out that his actual name is Scoobert, which might be quite difficult. Issue number 2. Who the hell knows that Shaggy's real name is Norville? This means that 2 of the 5 members of the crew likely can't be killed by the Death Note. Issue number 3. Mystery Inc. would not announce their investigation to the world in the same way that L did. They sort of work behind the scenes and just start investigating. So Light is not going to know that they're on the case until it's too late potentially. Knowing that L was coming for him was a huge benefit to Light as it made him maneuver much more cautiously. And issue number 4. Every group member of Mystery Inc. can all see ghosts and ghouls, so they most likely will be able to see Ryuk following Light around if they ever encounter him. All of this is not great for Light's chances of winning this battle, to say the least. Also, I know a lot of people view Scooby-Doo as just a dog. You know, he's a literal animal. Even if Light can't kill him with the Death Note, he probably could just kill him through other means. Wrong. Honestly, Scooby-Doo would whoop Light Yagami's ass in a physical altercation. Scoobert has walked on water, has time traveled, defies physics on the daily, has carried massive boats all on his own. Simply put, there is no world where Light Yagami can hold a candle to Mr. Doo's physical capabilities. If he wants to truly defeat Scooby, he needs to avoid being caught. But if you're going to provide the Mystery Inc. crew all of their feats from all of their different iterations, which I think is fair given the strength of their opposition here, then Velma might be considerably smarter than both Light and L. At one point it was stated that L was able to stop World War III when he was merely 8 years old, and that his intellect is the equivalent of like 7 intelligence agencies all by himself, which, to be fair, is super impressive. But the Scooby-Doo world is not grounded in any semblance of reality, which means Velma's intellectual feats can reach far beyond either L's or Light's. And she really does have some crazy feats when you think about it. At one point she was able to hack Batman's technology, and has also been stated to have read every book in her local library by the age of 3 years old. Just the fact that the Scooby-Doo crew has interacted with the DC universe is a huge deal. The fact that Batman on multiple occasions has seeked out Velma for help on cases gives us a realistic reason to consider her at least relative to Batman's detective capabilities and intelligence. And let I remind you that Batman has on multiple occasions managed to outsmart Brainiac, who has cosmic scale genius far surpassing human intelligence. I know it might sound bizarre initially, but if we're going to scale Velma's intelligence properly, she's above that of a really smart human like L or Light. So I do think she would be able to narrow down the group's focus to Japan, given the locality of all these killings. And since Kanto is the most populated region, they likely start their search in the right place. All things that point towards Light Yagami eventually being caught. Also, my boy Fred is a maestro when it comes to setting traps. Time and time again, we've seen him catch villains in compromising situations. He even has a literal book full of all of his traps. So let's just say that Mystery Inc. is able to narrow down their search to people in Light's region of Japan, and to people with ties to the police force, through the strength of Velma's analytical skills, of course. Well, I would argue that Mystery Inc. would not only have these people tailed, but our boy Fred would set some traps. So Light Yagami needs to be very careful, because he might end up tied to a chair and caught red-handed. Also, the Mystery Inc. group are straight up criminals because one of their go-to methods of investigation is just breaking and entering. So they'd probably break into Light's room just to have a look around and see if anything was suspicious. And even if his little Death Note trap was set up in his desk at this point, our boy Fred is probably going to be able to see right through that trap and disarm it. I mean, this is the master of traps after all. But even if he somehow doesn't, they'd still burn the book and prevent Light from committing any further murders. In general, ridiculous things happen in cartoons, so when it comes to quote-unquote power scaling, characters like the Mystery Inc. gang are no joke. Like, unironically, the cartoon character Popeye would solo most of fiction, just based on some omnipotent level feats that he gets as gags, essentially. And in kind of a similar vein, I firmly believe, based on ridiculous cartoon feats that all of the members of Mystery Incorporated have shown over the past 7 decades, they would make light work of Mr. Yagami. Well, if you made it this far, I'd love to hear your thoughts on all of this. Do you think Mystery Inc. would be able to solve the Kira case? Or do you think they'd end up as victims of the Death Note and that I'm chatting absolute bollocks? I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please feel free to check out some of my other Versus style videos where I pit fictional detectives and criminals against one another. A playlist with all of those videos will be linked in the description. Thank you for watching, and until next time, peace.